In the eyes of others, it was just an ordinary spoon, but to Mike, it was the key to his escape. He started by rubbing the spoon back and forth on the sole of his shoe, then asked the prison guard for a clean one. With the help of his teammates, he took a spoon right in front of the guard. But if you looked closely, he actually took two. Back in his cell, Mike first broke the spoon and then took apart the nail clippers. He removed the small file from the clippers and gradually ground a coin into powder. Once he had enough, he stuffed the powder into the joint between the spoon handle and the nail clipper components. He then lit a match and melted the metal parts together, creating a specialized tool for his escape. Next, Mike moved the box aside, laid a cloth on the floor, and started chiseling a hole in the wall facing the ventilation duct. With the right tool in hand, his efficiency was much higher. During the day, he would secretly carry the chiseled limestone out of his cell to avoid leaving traces. After 3 months, Mike had chiseled a hole large enough for a person to pass through. However, the vent was embedded in the wall and couldn't be removed by hand. So, Mike stole a metal wedge while working. Unfortunately, both ends of the wedge were metal, and the metal detector went off during the security check. Before the guards could react, Mike calmly took out the wedge and said he wanted to take it back to hang clothes. The guards didn't agree and even searched him from head to toe. But surprisingly, when he returned to his cell, he pulled out another wedge from the sole of his shoe. It turned out that the earlier scene was just a distraction. Mike then inserted the wedge into the vent, and with a gentle kick, the vent loosened and fell off. However, he didn't act immediately. To avoid suspicion, he made a disguise out of newspaper. He soaked the newspaper in water, molded it into a square, let it air dry, and then painted it a color similar to the wall, creating a realistic fake vent. Moreover, he made a fake model, coated it with dirt, and stuck hair on it to disguise it as himself on the bed. When everything was ready, Mike quietly crawled into the tunnel leading to freedom. Before leaving, Mike carefully restored the iron net to its original state to avoid exposing his actions. Behind the cell was a narrow drainage pipe, and he slowly climbed up along this passage. But when he reached the top, he discovered that there was no way forward. The only exit was an iron window on the ceiling, but no matter how high he jumped, he couldn't reach it. Just then, a prison guard came to patrol. Seeing Mike asleep so early, he felt a bit strange. The inmate next door quickly explained that Mike wasn't feeling well and had gone to bed early. The guard was about to leave when his baton accidentally fell, making a loud noise, but Mike showed no reaction. This made the guard suspicious, and he was about to check on Mike when Mike had already quietly returned to his bed, successfully avoiding a close call. The next day at mealtime, Mike found 3 of his fellow inmates and proposed escaping together. He knew that without cooperation, the plan would be impossible to achieve. Everyone agreed to join after hearing his proposal. At night, Mike found the teammate who had already chiseled through the wall, and they went together to the iron window on the top floor. With the help of his teammate, Mike finally reached the window. But disappointingly, the iron window was nailed down very tightly and couldn't be pried open with human strength alone. Luckily, there was an outlet nearby. Mike had a brainwave and suggested making an electric drill. His teammate thought he was crazy when he heard this. This was a prison, not a hardware store. But Mike was unfazed and said it wouldn't be a problem for him. It just so happened that the prison band was performing that day. Mike set his sights on the small fan on stage. When the performance ended, he took the opportunity to hide the fan in his box with a swift and neat movement. His teammate, seeing this, was even more nervous than him. When leaving, the guard proposed randomly inspecting an inmate's box. Unexpectedly, Mike voluntarily raised his own box and requested an inspection. The guard, seeing his calm demeanor and then looking at his visibly nervous teammate, finally decided to inspect the teammate's box instead. With his strong mental fortitude, Mike successfully avoided the risk. That night, using tools provided by other teammates, he converted the electric fan into a makeshift electric drill. He then collaborated with his teammate again to climb up to the iron window. His teammate handed him a crowbar, and Mike pried off part of the window, finally making it out. But just then, his teammate accidentally dropped a tool, and the noise instantly drew the attention of the prison guards. However, the guards patrolled the second floor and found nothing unusual. Meanwhile, Mike, unaware of the situation outside, was using his homemade electric drill to drill holes in the rivets of the iron window. Although the tool was slow, it made very little noise, so the patrolling guards just went through the motions and left quickly. In this way, Mike persisted for half a month and finally solved the iron window problem. Afterward, Mike discussed with his teammates and decided to act that night. However, before they set off, an unexpected event occurred. The warden conducted a surprise inspection of the cells and happened to come to Mike's room. The guards took out his bedding and thoroughly scanned it with a metal detector. At the same time, the warden entered the room and opened the box, revealing the vent behind it. Fortunately, Mike was well prepared, and the fake vent he made was so realistic that it was almost indistinguishable. The guards also didn't find any contraband outside, so they left. The real moment of escape finally arrived. In the dead of night, the 3 of them set off. Unfortunately, the 4th inmate who had originally planned to go with them was too nervous to join. He was afraid of being caught and could only lie in bed crying. Mike and the other 2 companions acted swiftly, arriving at the iron window and pulling each other up. Upon reaching the roof, they avoided the searchlights, ran to the edge, grabbed the water pipes, and slid down to the ground. When they reached the barbed wire fence, even though it was covered with thorns, they paid no heed because freedom was right in front of their eyes. The 4th inmate who was supposed to escape with them finally mustered the courage to set off. But when he reached the iron window, it was too late. No matter what, he couldn't jump up, and he eventually fell into despair. Meanwhile, the other three successfully reached the seaside, took out their homemade life raft, and desperately blew air into it. Under the cover of the thick night, they sailed into the ocean. At dawn, the prison guards came to patrol and found Mike still sleeping in his bed. When they turned on the light, they were shocked to see a dummy model lying on the bed. The guards sounded the alarm. Subsequently, helicopters, patrol boats, and a large police force were urgently mobilized to search the entire sea area and nearby islands. But they never found any trace of the three men. This was the first time in the history of Alcatraz that anyone had successfully escaped. The movie was released in 1979 and was adapted from the true events of the escape from Devil's Island. It was filmed at the original prison site. Based on the evidence left at the scene, such as the dummy model, nail clippers, spoons, and other tools, the movie tried to recreate the entire escape process as realistically as possible. The police never stopped chasing the three men, but half a century later, they had vanished without a trace. Whether they are still alive remains unknown to this day.